I'm putting together my boxes of records for a fair. I thought I would talk about record fairs. I have a list of 12 tips or suggestions, and at the same time I will show the records in these boxes. 7 of the suggestions concern preparation for the fair. Number 1, clean the vinyl and outer sleeves and place in clear sleeves. Now, there are some sellers at the fairs that I attend regularly, and just by way of background, I've been selling at record fairs for just over 2 years, and on average I stall at about 2 a month. Tip 2, price records realistically for their grade. I look at eBay solds, I look at Discogs for an indication of median prices, I look at prices that the independent record shops are selling their pre-loved vinyl for, and I do look at what other sellers at record fairs are ticketing their vinyl at. Tip 3, provide details of vinyl grading, matrix numbers, pressings, particularly for the collectible items. So for example, animal tracks, the animals. This is the first pressing, mono, 1965, flip back sleeve. The sleeve's excellent for age. Vinyl is VG to VG+. There are some light scratches on it. Doesn't affect play, there are a few clicks, but for age, nice example. Tip 4, have section dividers. So for example, in this box, Pop Singer, and I have a collection of Joni Mitchell albums. Just a few remain now, but I have a section for Joni Mitchell. That's on the Vertigo Swirl. Rod Stewart, that's on blue vinyl. Stephen Still's album is on the Atlantic Plum label. Talking about pricing realistically, I mentioned I bought a collection of Joni Mitchell albums. So I have about 10 remaining. So what I intend to do with these is, for this forthcoming fair, I'm going to, for this section, have a 20% off mark price sale. That's instead of changing the ticket prices. That should attract the eye of, hopefully, to sell some of those records. Tip 5, don't overfill the boxes. It's quite likely that you'll have to, at the very least, carry the boxes from table to car. Don't want them to be too heavy. If the boxes are overfull, it's difficult for potential customers to look at the vinyl. There are 1 or 2 sellers at the fairs I go to where every box is absolutely rammed. It makes it very difficult to actually see what's in the boxes. And I think as a result of that, I think some potential buyers just give up and walk on by. It's Peter Gabriel. This is nice. This is a tour in vinyl, limited edition, Mott the Hoople. Petty. Slade album. Play it loud. The Boss. I have a section for ELO. These are all first press records. They're first, second and third studio albums. These are Japanese presses of the Beatles, red and blue. Now again, I bought a collection of Japanese press Beatles albums. I only have a few remaining. So for this sale, I'm going to be again saying 20% off marked price, in fact, for any of those Beatles albums. John Lord solo album. Tip 6. In my experience, it's been fine to just offer cash or PayPal to buyers at the record fairs. I think it's almost expected that buyers pay in cash. I've not found it necessary to have a card machine. Some sellers do. I don't do fairs often enough really to justify a card machine. And as I say, most purchasers are happy to pay cash or PayPal, and or there's usually a cash point local to the venues that they can just pop out and pick up some cash if they don't have enough or cash with them. Tip 7. So when it comes to pricing, be prepared for some customers bargaining on the price. They might ask for a deal for a number of records. I'm always open to that, and I think it's fair that a reduction is at least offered if a customer buys certainly 2 or 3 records. For sure, I would offer 10 to 20% reduction off the ticket price. Star Castle. Todd Rundgren Utopia, first album. And some Van der Graaf in the progressive rock box. That's the double live album. So what I occasionally do, so War of the Worlds, double album, has the booklet. The vinyl is excellent on all sides. What I've done with this one, just to make it a little bit sweeter, I've included a 7-inch that I had in my single stock of War of the Worlds, Eve of the War and The Red Weed. Just to make it perhaps a little bit more interesting, because that's a record that most other sellers would have on their tables anyway. It's something pretty unusual in the progressive rock box. Swedish experimental music. I have a section for Genesis, as I have a number of their albums. Tip number 8 on preparation. I'll move over to this box. Is have a bargain box or a box of marked half-price records. In my experience, it certainly attracts customers to your table. And if they look through this box and buy, invariably they'll look through the other boxes and hopefully buy as well. So this is the sort of records I have in my £5 each bargain box. Again, all vinyl cleaned, all good to go. Now, some of these records, like the Heart for example, because I buy collections and job lots of records, I end up with usually quite a few copies of particularly the 80s vinyl. So I have several copies of the Heart album and of Blondie, Auto American, so quite happy to pop these in the £5 box. Joe Jackson. It's a double album. So I always try and put good titles in this box. Even for £5. It's good that people are getting a good record in good condition. Now again, I do have a copy of this in my £10 box. I've just put this one in the £5 box because there's a little bit of wear to the sleeve. The vinyl is VG Plus, close to excellent. Now this usually would be at least a £15 record. There are some light scratches on it, which a few little clicks on playback, but again, for £5, that's a bargain buy, soul to soul. The Jim Steinman album with the 7-inch. Undertones. Wishbone 4 and Yes. ZZ Top. So this is a box of classic rock, metal, section for Black Sabbath. So my next tip is, on the day, get to the venue early and set up your tables. The reason I say that is that other dealers, other sellers will invariably visit your table, and you can usually do quite a bit of business before the official opening time. And that's either selling, and of course you can do the same. You can visit sellers and see what their stock is. If there's anything you like the look of, you can pick it up. It's usually accepted between dealers that there's a deal to be done. You know, normally there will be a decent enough discount on the ticket price for sellers selling to sellers. So one of the unwritten rule. 12-inch picture disc. Let's get rocked. Electric Ladyland Part 1. Got some Maiden in. These are all in VG Plus 2 excellent condition, vinyl and sleeves. So with the Michael Schenker, what I've done is I've included, so normally an album that sells for about £8 to £10 in excellent condition. I've included a 7-inch limited edition white vinyl, just to make that deal a little bit sweeter. That's Motorhead's first album. It's a reissue. I primarily sell pre-loved vinyl. Do have 1 or 2 new sealed. This is one of them. That was the original price. This is Nazareth's first album. £15. Tip 10 is don't leave the fair early. Quite a bit of business can be done towards the end of the allotted time. That's again, there are always latecomers to the fair, and again, some dealers like to do a final visit around to other dealers' tables. If they've had a good day, they might want to buy more stock, and if they've not had such a good day, they might be open to slightly better offers for some of their vinyl. So I've worked that both ways. So what I've done with this one here, this is a first pressing, UK first pressing of Wishbone Ash Argos. Grade is VG, VG Plus on the vinyl, a little bit of wear on the sleeve, so priced accordingly. And I've just put it for my own reference, just a note of what the Discogs median price is for that record, for a first pressing. I do have some Sabbath. Now normally Sabbath's Heaven and Hell would be a lot more than £15. The vinyl on this one is VG to VG Plus. Sleeve's in pretty good condition, a little bit of a tear there, but priced accordingly. The Mob Rules is in excellent condition, sleeve and vinyl. So my next tip is to offer bags to customers. It's amazing how many people come to record fairs, don't have a bag to take their records home in. And I know 1 or 2 dealers actually don't offer bags. And I think it's nice to at least offer a plastic bag to customers to take their records home in. So I don't have much reggae or ska at the moment. It's Madness' first album. These are all originals, Booker T. And so this is a section that includes jazz and soul. The section for punk, post-punk. Again with Boomtown Rats, it's an album that would sell for normally about £8 to £10 on a good day in excellent condition. I've just popped in a 7-inch with it, just to make that deal a little bit sweeter. It's the Damned Black album. Final's close to excellent on all sides. A little bit of wear to the sleeve on that Damned album. £10. Final's excellent. Jam Snap double album. Here's another one of my new sealed. Original price. This includes it's the Skids Absolute Game, includes the bonus 12-inch single. It's a double. A few Stranglers albums. Some David Bowie. That's another new sealed. Scary Monsters, £10. So I have a section here for soundtracks, crack rock electronic, 80s new wave. The Doctor Who limited edition. Blue vinyl. That's the point. Again, I've popped in a 7-inch with ABC's The Lexicon of Love. It's Boy George. Concert Angels. It's a promo. Picture disc. So with the Haircut 100 album, there's a booklet, the fan club, with autographs in it, facsimiles. This one's on orange vinyl, Sinceros. Don't see that soft cell album too often. With the Westworld, there is an accompanying 7-inch. The last box I have is Goth, Alt Indie, and some 12-inch. Cocteau Twins, Colt, Cure, and the Bunny Men. Shirley Manson's band, Before Garbage. There she is. And I do have some 12-inch. £2 and less priced. There's £5 for sash. The vast, vast majority are just £2. So I do have some different genres in the 12-inch. Some pop, rock, hip-hop, rap, club, dance, a little bit of everything. And that works best for me. So having now done quite a few fairs, I do have quite a range of genres of music in these boxes. That works best for me. So I certainly find that you never know what's going to sell. I'm as likely to sell ABBA as Aerosmith. And there are one or two sellers at the fairs who do specialise. For example, the round of fairs I go to, there's a guy that sells primarily punk and early post-punk, and not necessarily easy to sell. It's not the sort of records that a lot of people want to buy. And there's another guy who has about 6 or 7 boxes, about the same as me, and at least 3 of the boxes have David Bowie albums in them. Again, he has some very good stuff, but the sell-through rate, I think, is fairly low on them. I do normally have a box or two of 7-inch. So again, there are people that come to the fairs that are only interested in 7-inch. So it's always good to have some. Again, I price these at £2 each, some a little bit more. For example, in spiral carpets, just £2. A few little tears to the sleeve, the vinyl's excellent. REM, £2. The other £2. That's the Shaman. The 7-inch usually sell pretty well. So talking about selling, I think to have an expectation, realistic expectation of selling at fairs. So if anybody's thinking of starting selling at fairs, it is a good way to sell, for sure. But I think a realistic expectation would be that you would probably sell about 10% of your records at each fair. So, for example, I normally take about 600 albums to a record fair in these boxes, and I would probably sell on average about 60 of them. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. So I think my last tip or suggestion would be to do it again. If you're going to do fairs, do them again, because there's a lot of preparation involved in this, in the cleaning and the pricing, etc. And doing it again will obviously increase the amount of records you sell, but as importantly, I think, you will have built up relationships with people you've sold records to and with other dealers. And I think that's an excellent way of getting additional sales. Repeat customers is good. And also building up a network with other dealers is useful too, because I've certainly found in my experience there's been a couple of albums in particular that I've been looking for my collection. So I speak to the other dealers and say, have you got this or that? They say no or yes, as the case may be. And if it's no, as often as not, they find me a good copy. So that's been an ideal way to pick up some records for my own collection. Thanks for watching.